So these measures are called DAX measures. DAX stands for data analysis expressions. So these expressions are calculated after filtering operation takes place in a table. Then you have pivot table. Pivot table, you put some dimensions in the rows or dimensions in the column. So each column row intersection, it has a value coming in from the row, a value coming in from the column. So those dimension values are used to sort and filter the underlying data, and those filtered set of records is what is used to calculate the value of the measures. Okay, so we'll start with a very simple measure. Okay, so I'm going to go all the way to the first column, and there are a couple of ways in which we can start building measures. Okay, one is to type measures right in here. Okay, so this is the measure area. Okay, so you can type in the formula right here. So you start with a measure name. Okay, and then we don't use equal to in measures. So you have to go colon equal to. Okay, that's the syntax. That's the rule. Okay, name of the measure, colon equal to, and then your formula. And in the formula you can use functions that are built in, and you can use columns of data or other measures that you have created. Okay, so that's one way of creating measures straight into this area. Or you can also create measures from here, from Power Pivot ribbon. So you have measures, right? Okay, new measure. So that will open up your measure screen. Okay, so here you are prompted with an equal to sign. There is no colon equal to here, but colon will be inserted. All right. So here is the table name in which the measure will be created. So it's always a good idea, even though it's not required, but it is always a good idea to put the measures in the table where the columns come from. Okay, measures usually will have some column in the formula. Okay, so whichever table from which these columns come, I think that's where you should put it. So let's put that in the sales table, fact internet sales table, and we'll call that total sales, right? And okay, so again, as you type, you will be prompted, so you can select the ones that you want. So total sales is just simply sum of sales. Okay, sales is where is it? Sales amount. Okay, so that's the column. So close parentheses. You can check to see whether the formula is valid. So no errors in the formula. And then you can set a format for that measure. Okay, so I'm going to set it to 0 decimal places and currency format. Okay, so that way whenever you use that measure in a pivot table, the numbers will be automatically formatted. Okay, so you set it once and then that's it. Okay, so now you see that measure is created, and you see the colon already inserted there. Okay, sum of that. Okay. And now we can use okay, so we can use that measure to create pivot tables, right? So let's say we want a new one. So insert pivot table, and we're using the data model in the workbook. Okay, so so we are not using the column from the data table, but we're using the measure. So the way in which the measure value for the measure will be calculated is, okay, so here you look at the filter context. Filter context is in the pivot table. You look at the row and you look at the column. So here we have product category, right? So the first row is accessories, and there is no column context. So the column, there is no dimension. There is only one dimension here. And so for the first row, the context is product category is accessories. So the underlying data will be filtered for accessories. So only those records will come, and then the formula for total sales, okay, formula is, okay, so sum of that column, sales amount. So it will go to the sales amount column and it will sum it for those filtered records. So you get the total sales for accessories. Same is done for bikes, same is done for clothing. Okay. Suppose if you bring in another, so from internet sales, suppose if I bring in say month to column, all right, well, let's bring in month name to column. Month name. All right. So now the way in which the measure will be calculated is for each cell. Okay, like for example, if this is the cell, how is this value calculated? 2,648,140. So the row context is bikes, the column context is April. Okay. Now the underlying fact internet sales table will now be sorted and filtered for bikes and April, and only those records will be selected, and then the formula given by the measure, which is sum of sales amount, that will be performed. Okay, so the computation is done after filtering the records. The computation given by the formula in measure is applied only after this filtering operation takes place.